as Samuel approached his house. He had just returned from work, tired and looking forward to a quiet evening. But as he reached the door, something made him stop. Through the open window, he heard his wife, Kemi, talking on the phone. He had never been one to eavesdrop, but something about her tone made him curious. "Mama, don't worry. Once that fool comes home, I will put the poison inside his drink. By midnight, he will be dead, and I will take all the property documents from his briefcase. By tomorrow, everything will be mine." Samuel froze. His heart pounded so hard he thought Kemi might hear it. His own wife, the woman he loved and trusted. She wanted him dead. His hands clenched into fists, but he forced himself to remain calm. He couldn't let her know he had heard. If he confronted her now, she might deny it, or worse, she could try to kill him in another way. No, he had to be smart. He had to play along. Taking a deep breath, Samuel pushed open the door and walked in as if nothing had happened. "Kemi, I'm home," he called out, his voice steady. Kemi hurried out from the kitchen, her face lighting up with a fake smile. "Welcome, my love. You must be tired. Let me get you something to drink." Samuel nodded, watching her closely. She was good at pretending, but now he knew the truth. As he sat down, she moved to the kitchen. He could hear the sound of liquid being poured into a glass. Then, a moment later, she returned with a cold drink and placed it in front of him. "Here, my darling, drink this and relax. I'll bring your food soon," she said sweetly. Samuel picked up the glass, holding it in his hand for a moment. He swirled the liquid inside, then lifted it to his lips. Kemi was watching him closely. He smiled. "I'll wait for my food. I like drinking after eating." Kemi's eyes flickered with something, disappointment perhaps, but she quickly covered it with another smile. "No problem, my love. Let me go and get it." As soon as she disappeared into the kitchen, Samuel moved fast. He rushed to the sink and poured out the poisoned drink. Then, he grabbed another drink from the fridge, identical to the one she gave him, and placed it back on the table. He heard her footsteps returning. Quickly, he sat back down, picked up the drink, and took a sip in front of her. A moment later, he groaned. He clutched his stomach, twisted in fake pain, and struggled to stand. Kemi's eyes widened. "Samuel? What's wrong?" Samuel staggered toward the bedroom, gripping his stomach like a man in agony. Then, just as he reached the bed, he collapsed and went completely still. Silence. Then Kemi laughed, a small, wicked giggle. She pulled out her phone and dialed a number. "Mama, the idiot is dead," she whispered, her voice filled with excitement. "Yes, I will get the briefcase now." Samuel, still pretending to be unconscious, listened carefully. "I told you he was too trusting. Now I have all his properties. The briefcase is where he keeps all the documents." She ended the call and walked toward the bedside table. She grabbed the briefcase. Samuel heard the click of the lock as she opened it. He imagined her sorting through his documents, checking every detail. A few minutes later, Kemi suddenly let out a loud, heartbreaking wail. "Help! Somebody help me! My husband is dead!" Samuel smirked. She was a good actress. From his position on the bed, he pulled out his phone and quickly sent a message to their neighbor, Mr. Matthew. "Please, I need your help. Kemi is trying to take my properties. I'll explain later. I need you to keep my briefcase safe and play along." Within seconds, Mr. Matthew replied, "I'm home. Bring it over." Samuel moved swiftly. He got up and sneaked out through the back door, under the cover of darkness. He reached Mr. Matthew's house and handed him the briefcase. "Just act like you know nothing," Samuel whispered. "I understand," Mr. Matthew nodded. Samuel then called his mother. "Mama, Kemi will soon call you. She will say I am dead. Please act along. I will explain later." His mother gasped, but she quickly agreed. Inside the house, Kemi was still crying, loud enough for their two neighbors to hear. Samuel hurried back to the bedroom and lay back on the bed, resuming his dead position. A few moments later, Kemi re-entered, holding her phone. She dialed another number. Adam, the fool is dead. Samuel's body stiffened. Adam, his lawyer? Yes, we did it. By tomorrow, all the properties will be in my name. My mother and I will handle the documents. Then we can finally be together. Samuel's stomach twisted. His wife and his lawyer. So this was deeper than just greed. It was betrayal at the highest level. He listened as Kemi giggled on the phone. Yes, I'll see you soon. Just wait. Let me call his mother and tell her the good news. She ended the call and immediately dialed another number. Samuel closed his eyes, waiting. Mama, Samuel, Kemi sobbed into the phone. Your son is dead. He just drank something and collapsed. Please come quickly. There was silence on the line. Then Samuel's mother let out a heart-wrenching cry. My son? My only son? No! I am coming right away. Samuel smirked. His mother was a good actress too. Everything was falling into place. Now, he just had to wait. Kemi sat on the floor, pretending to wail uncontrollably. The neighbors gathered around, shaking their heads in pity. Samuel is gone just like that, one elderly woman muttered, covering her mouth in shock. Kemi's mother arrived shortly after, rushing into the house and throwing herself on the floor beside her daughter. My daughter, what will you do now? She cried dramatically. Through her fake sobs, Kemi took her mom to a visitor room and whispered, Mama, everything is going smoothly. I have already taken the briefcase. Once the burial is done, everything will belong to me. Meanwhile, Samuel's mother and his family members arrived, their faces wet with tears. My son, his mother wailed, falling to the floor. What will I do without you? Kemi rushed to her, putting on another act. Mama, please don't cry. I am also in pain. My husband is gone. Samuel's uncle, an elder in the family, shook his head. We must take his body to the mortuary immediately, he declared. Yes, Kemi's mother agreed quickly. We should not waste time. Samuel's family exchanged glances. They knew exactly what Kemi was trying to do, rush everything before anyone could ask questions. Samuel's mother wiped her tears and nodded. Yes, let's take him now. Neighbors helped to carry Samuel's lifeless body and placed him in a car. Kemi, her mother, and Adam, Samuel's lawyer and her secret lover, stayed behind while the rest of the family left for the mortuary. The moment they were alone, Kemi grinned. She turned to Adam and whispered, It's over. We did it. Adam smirked. Good. Now, we must make sure his family doesn't interfere. I will prepare the documents that will transfer all his properties to you. Kemi's mother clapped her hands in excitement. Finally, you are free from that man. Now, we can enjoy life properly. They poured drinks and toasted to their victory. Little did they know, Samuel was very much alive. When Samuel's family arrived home, they gathered in the sitting room. His mother, uncle, and siblings all sat quietly as Samuel removed the white cloth covering him and stretched his arms. His uncle shook his head. That woman is a devil. Samuel nodded. She was never in love with me. She only wanted my properties. His mother's eyes filled with tears. My son, I would never have believed this if I hadn't heard it myself. Samuel sighed. We must be careful. They will try to take the documents, but I have already given them to Mr. Matthew. Now, we have to make sure they don't suspect anything. His uncle leaned forward. We will play along. We will pretend we believe you are dead and set up the burial. Samuel's younger brothers suddenly stand up. I have an idea. What if we connect CCTV cameras in the house to the phone? That way, We can monitor everything Kemi is doing." Samuel's uncle smiled. "That is a brilliant idea. We must catch them red-handed." Within an hour, they connected the CCTV in the house to their phones. Now, they could see everything happening in the house in real time. Back at home, Kemi was busy selecting the clothes she would wear to the burial. "I must look my best," she told her mother. "Everyone will be watching me." Adam chuckled. "Don't forget to cry well at the burial. You must look like a grieving widow." Kemi smirked. "Oh, don't worry. I am a good actress." The next morning, the whole community was talking about Samuel's death. People gathered in his compound, whispering about how young he was, how tragic his death had been. As they prepared for the burial, Kemi sat in the front row, her face covered in a black veil, shaking her shoulders as she cried. Adam sat beside her, rubbing her back. "Be strong," he whispered, hiding his own smirk. The funeral service began. The pastor spoke in a solemn voice, talking about life and death, about how Samuel was gone too soon. The air was thick with grief, but Samuel and his family knew the truth. The funeral service continued. The pastor's voice echoed through the air as he spoke about Samuel's untimely death. Some mourners sniffled, others wiped their eyes, and a few whispered among themselves. At the front, Kemi sat with her black veil covering her face, her body trembling with fake sobs. Beside her, Adam, her secret lover and Samuel's lawyer, sat close, his own face set in a mask of sorrow. "Ah, my husband, why did you leave me like this?" Kemi wailed loudly, rocking back and forth. "You were the best husband. You gave me everything. Oh, how will I live without you?" Samuel's mother and family sat nearby, their faces expressionless. They had seen everything on the CCTV recordings. They knew the truth, but they played along, pretending to grieve. Neighbors murmured among themselves. "That woman really loved her husband," one said. "She must be heartbroken," another added. Samuel's uncle, who had been silently watching Kemi's dramatic performance, leaned towards Samuel's younger brother and whispered, "She should win an award for this acting." The ceremony continued. The coffin lay in the middle of the compound, ready to be carried to its final resting place. A few men moved forward, preparing to lift it. But then, a deep, rumbling sound filled the air. The mourners turned their heads in confusion. Then, suddenly, a convoy of black SUVs drove into the compound. The doors of the leading vehicles swung open. A man stepped out. Gasps filled the air. Women screamed. Some people stumbled back in fear, their eyes wide. It was Samuel, alive, dressed in a crisp black suit, his face unreadable. He stood tall, his eyes scanning the crowd. For a moment, there was silence. Even the birds stopped chirping. Then, in a voice that sent chills through everyone, Samuel spoke. "I heard that I am dead." A loud thud broke the silence. Kemi had fainted. Adam's mouth hung open. His eyes darted around, searching for an escape, but it was too late. The whole community stood in shock, unable to process what they were seeing. Samuel took slow steps forward, his gaze fixed on Kemi's mother. "Mama, Kemi, were you not the one that told my wife to poison me?" The woman stuttered, gripping her wrapper. I don't know what you're talking about." Samuel let out a dry chuckle. "You don't know?" He turned to the crowd. "Then let us all listen to what the CCTV camera recorded." He pulled out his phone and pressed play. The speakers connected to the house rang out with Kemi's voice. "Mama, the idiot is dead." Gasps erupted from the crowd. Then Adam's voice followed. "Good. Now we must move fast and secure the documents." A murmur spread through the mourners. Faces twisted in shock, some in anger. One of the elders in the community shook his head. "This is evil," Another woman clapped her hands in disbelief. Kemi, you wanted to kill your own husband. Kemi, who had regained consciousness, was now trembling, her face pale. Samuel, please, I can explain, she pleaded, her voice shaking. Samuel's eyes turned to steel. Explain? You poisoned me, took my documents, called your boyfriend my lawyer, and celebrated my death. What is there to explain? Adam took a step back, sweat forming on his forehead. Samuel, listen. I can fix this. You're a disgrace, Samuel cut in. A man trusted you with his wealth, and you plotted to steal everything? Just then, police sirens blared in the distance. 2 police officers stepped out, marching straight towards Samuel. Mr. Samuel, we received your report. Do you wish to press charges? Samuel's jaw tightened. Yes. Arrest them all. Kemi let out a blood-curdling scream as the officers grabbed her wrists and locked the handcuffs. No, please. I was deceived. It was my mother's idea, she cried. Her mother turned to run, but another officer caught her arm and secured her hands. You're not going anywhere. Adam, once the confident and respected lawyer, now looked like a trapped rat. Samuel, let's talk about this. I can help you transfer your properties. Shut up, one officer snapped, shoving him forward. You'll explain yourself in court. The whole community watched as Kemi, her mother, and Adam were led toward the police van. A few people spat on the ground in disgust. Serves them right, one man muttered. As the van drove away, Samuel turned to his mother and family, his face filled with emotion. Thank you for believing in me, he said softly. His mother pulled him into a tight hug, her tears flowing freely. My son, we thank God that you are alive. Samuel's uncle patted his back. You were wise, my boy. If you had not played along, they would have truly killed you. Samuel took a deep breath, looking up at the sky. He had faced betrayal, walked through the shadow of death, and returned victorious. Kemi was sentenced to life in prison, and both Adam and Mama Kemi received 14-year prison sentences for their roles in the crime. As the judge delivered the final verdict, Kemi's once proud face crumbled. She screamed, pleading for mercy, but the court had no sympathy for her betrayal. Moral of the story: greed and selfishness will only destroy relationships. Kemi, Adam, and Mama Kemi let their love for money blind them, leading to betrayal and regret. Everyone, both men and women, must be careful and prayerful when choosing a life partner. Marriage is not just about love, but also about trust, values, and character. A wrong choice can lead to sorrow, but the right one will bring peace and joy. May God bless those yet to marry with wisdom, to choose a loving and faithful partner. For those already married, may He strengthen their union, protect them from betrayal, and fill their homes with peace, joy, and lasting happiness.